Ah, controversy, you delectable temptress. You knew I wouldn't be able to stay away for long. So yes, I'm once again rolling the dice to see if I can avoid the wrath of YouTube for a second time with yet another well-reasoned argument. Last month we celebrated Pride, and each morning as I walked through the city to go to work, I very much enjoyed seeing the rainbow flag all warm and colourful and welcoming, and then after a few more steps I'd see this thing. And then another. And then another. And then many, many more. Okay, so the most prominent problem, this thing looks hideous. The rainbow flag is already a very busy mismatch of colours, but obviously it gets away with it because, rainbows are a thing. The white next to baby pink, next to baby blue, next to brown, next to black, next to a rainbow. I mean, come on, who thought this was going to be aesthetically pleasing? Most colours go well with black, but I've found combining it with brown or navy just doesn't work. It gets this weird mulchy look or something. I remember the day I left my house wearing a mixture of black and navy, and in a reflection I saw how absolutely awful I looked. And on the train I thought, you know what, who cares? No one's going to see me, and then all of a sudden sitting across from me was an ex-girlfriend. So what exactly is the point of this garbled mess of colours? The brown and black are supposed to represent coloured folks of the LGBT community, which is really weird for me because I thought the whole point of sexuality is that it was supposed to transcend your country or culture or indeed skin colour. While we're on the topic, let's have a look at some flags. Okay, yeah, I see what they were going for here with the baby blue and baby pink, as these are the stereotypical colours associated with newborn boys and girls. But here lies the problem. Even if your chosen colours represent your idea really well, it doesn't mean that they're going to be aesthetically pleasing. There are so many better pinks than baby pink, hot pink, flamingo pink, bubblegum pink. And Christ, baby blue is like the worst shade of blue in existence. You could literally pick any shade of blue and it would be better than this. I'd even take navy. And I despise navy. If we have a gander at some of the other queer flags, they don't fare much better. And look, I know your options are limited with almost 200 national flags hogging all the sexy colour combinations, but come on, who looked at these and thought, yeah, that bland-looking mismatch of colours perfectly represents who I am. I mean, the lesbian flag looks like it's in the middle of a nervous breakdown. Also, I know this isn't why we're here, but did genderqueer, non-binary and agender all need their own flags? I'm just saying. Last thing before we move on, and I think you all need to know this, there is a straight pride flag, and it is by far the worst one. I mean, Jesus. You know that stereotype about how white men can't dance? Well, this is like the proof of the stereotype that straight men have no fashion sense, because come on, you fucking know it was a man that designed this abomination. Also, not meaning to read too deep into this, but it's pretty damn obvious how much this looks like one of those old-styley prison uniforms, right? And you know that old adage about how if someone is trying so hard to prove how straight they are, it often indicates that maybe they're trying to keep all the gayness locked up real tight? God, it's just too perfect. The rainbow flag was designed by Gilbert Baker, the original one containing 8 stripes, the 7 colours of the rainbow plus pink, and I gotta admit that it looks pretty dope. The top stripe was apparently dropped because of a pink fabric shortage. Now, with an uneven number of stripes, the middle colour would get obscured when hung from lampposts, so they combined the light blue and indigo to make a sort of middly blue, resulting in the iconic 6-colour pride flag which we knew and loved for the next 40 years or so. In 2017, Philadelphia revealed an updated version of the pride flag, an 8-striped version to include black and brown at the top to represent minorities. Not to be outdone by Philly, 2018 saw Seattle update their flag with an 11-coloured striped version to include the trans colours, and I mean, holy fucking hell, look at this hot mess. It's hard for my brain to even process what I'm looking at. Now, if good sense had prevailed, we would have just said, okay, we appreciate the sentiment, but no. In that same year, however, Daniel Quasar took it upon himself to redesign the Seattle flag into something more coherent, placing the 5 new colours on a triangle on the side. The flag didn't really garner widespread popularity till a few years ago, gaining a lot of attention when it appeared on RuPaul's Drag Race in 2021. And after that, Quasar started making serious bank. While it's admirable that 10% of what they make is donated to charity, they have still made a ton of money with their design. And I wouldn't mind so much, except it isn't their design. It's Gilbert Baker's design that Daniel Quasar slapped a coloured triangle onto. And you can talk about wanting to put trans and coloured folk at the forefront of the conversation, but it feels weird to build that message on top of someone else's. Originally, the pride flag was meant to represent the gay community, but during my lifetime, it came to mean so much more than that. Many years ago, the definition of queer got expanded to include all sexualities from all walks of life. As a very non-normative straight person, I do not need to add anything to this flag, because this flag already includes me. And yes, I know a lot of gay folks resent straights that identify as queer, but here we are. If you don't follow normal conventions, if you don't fit into that neat little box that society wants to put you in, this is your flag. It does not need updating to include anyone else because they're all here. The rainbow includes everyone except for maybe the most boring-ass missionary-having by-the-book straight folks that, yes, actually do still exist. And of course, if you update it once, you know someone's going to do it again, which of course they did in 2021 with this. Valentino Vecchietti added the yellow background and purple circle to include intersex people, which... Look, I understand the original want to include the new stripes as these represent groups of people who are discriminated against, but was it really necessary to specifically include something for intersex folks just to be like, hey, over here, we exist? It's weird watching the pride flag slowly being overwritten. The extra part of the original progress flag occupies about 35%, while Vecchietti's version takes up 40%. And considering we've had 2 updates just 4 years apart, you have to wonder where this is going to end. There's one more thing I want to talk about, and I'll do it with a story. In 2022, I was working in a shop owned by my friend, where me and a couple of the other employees were all working on the day of the Pride Parade. We all dressed up, painting our faces with the rainbow colours. One of my comrades wore a rather fetching summer dress with accompanying eyeshadow and lipstick. I chose the slightly trashier option of a short black cocktail dress with my hair in pigtails. Unfortunately, I had to wear trousers under my dress because otherwise I felt any customers that entered the store would have received a whole eye full of dick, ass and balls. We had an absolute blast. The day was filled with laughter and teasing, and we felt so comfortable just being ourselves. Everyone was included, whatever you were, whatever your slant. This was your day. By the time 2023 rolled around, the shop had now become a chain, and I'd been given my own branch to run. This shop was a lot smaller than our flagship store, so the day of the Pride Parade I was working by myself. I didn't dress up or paint my face. I didn't partake in the merriment of the day, and the only reason I even bothered to decorate the store is because my boss asked me to. In that 1 year, there had been so much drama, so much infighting within the queer community. It was a year that people seemed obsessed with pronouns, as if that somehow defined us as people, the be-all and end-all of identity. Trans rights activists had yelled and moaned and bitched and bullied people to get what they wanted, and they didn't seem to care if it impeded on other people's rights. It was a year we all lived with that invisible gun to our heads, where the opposition of something you didn't agree with could get you labelled a transphobe, fired, and cancelled. By the time Pride of 2023 came around, none of it felt fun anymore. Being part of and celebrating the queer community was no longer a party, it was a political statement. And if you didn't like what it had become, you were expected to keep your mouth shut. The only reason I'm talking about it now is because this is the first year that I've felt there's been significant pushback against all of this. And every time I see this updated flag, it reminds me of all that. And look, I know that baggage is my own. What I see when I look at the flag, the context that comes with it, will not be that of the next person. The irony is that all the trans friends I've had in real life... Okay, I've only ever had 2 trans friends. Both of my trans friends were lovely people, and they meant the world to me during a time when I was at the absolute lowest point of my entire life. I still know one of them, and they're still lovely. Maybe this is one of those undeniable truths. Take any just cause and the internet will inevitably ruin it. Cynicism aside, I think Daniel Quasar probably redesigned the flag with good intentions, wanting to be more inclusive. For me, though, it's done the opposite. By placing others front and centre, all you're doing is pointing out our differences. During my lifetime, the pride flag became the ultimate symbol of inclusion. Even though we may be different, we were all united under these colours. While on paper there is a distinction, this is the pride flag, while this is called the progress flag. However, a quick Google search of pride flag mostly returns images of Quasar's or Vecchietti's design, and it's obvious that in the public's mind, this has just become the new pride flag. It's okay if you don't agree with me. I still support trans folks and trans rights, and I promise you that anything I've said does not come from a place of hate. If I've completely missed the mark here, I have done so from my own ignorance and nothing else. And look, honestly, you should fly whichever flag brings you the most joy. Saying that, I don't think you should be made to hang this thing up just because you feel pressured to. I wholeheartedly encourage people to express how fucking stupid they think it looks, if that is in fact how they feel. I really don't want to end on a negative note here, so just remember, if you consider yourself a queer person, however you interpret that word, this is your flag. This is my flag. This rainbow is for all of us.